It's a great honor to be here. Oh, sorry. Um, as for the past couple years, I've been looking at the Maker and how Maker is going to changing the way things get produced. Uh, in 2014, I have the pleasure and honors to be in the LIP Shanghai conference, and then we talk about makers. In the past years, we're starting to see Maker is going become popular, and in this conference, we see a lot of breakout sections on makers. But as we're starting to look into the futures, one thing caught our attention last year. As part of the Open Source and Circular Economy Day events across the world with 30 cities, and we're starting to look at the e-waste problem. So I think this infographics, we creating tons of e-waste, 40 million tons a year. All those countries rated, and this is getting just increasing. But the interesting thing is all this infographic, it was created back in 2008, 2009. There's a huge outroar of the people be worried about we are using too much of we are producing too much e-waste. Along with that, picture like this starting to show up. This is Guiyu in Guangdong, Shenzhen, in Guangdong province in China. And we're starting to see pictures like this. This is how e-waste goes. There's a huge, tremendous of human and environmental cost in the disposing of the e-waste. And that's the huge outcry. I think that leads to legislations banning the exporting of the e-waste to China, to India, to Africa. And the new alchemy gets proposed. Now we will just grind it down, melt it in, and then we will produce gold from the e-waste. And this is clean, people touring the facility, it's beautiful. And now we are guilt-free. We are back to our obsessions with latest gauges, with when are we going to get our iPhone 7. But as we're starting to look at the issue, the thing has not been resolved. The e-waste problem is still there. Right now, getting around the banning of the export of the e-waste to developing countries, it's now all goes out as donations. It all goes out as the goodwill to the developing countries, sending the ITC infrastructures. And the big reason is that model of economy didn't work. Grinding down the ITC product and extracting raw material out of it is expensive, and it's actually run against to the other part of the economy. Chip fabrication, the circuit used inside the ICT products. They are very energy intensive to produce. They are very expensive to produce. So we're starting to look at, is there ways to rectify this? Is there a way to fix this? In the past couple of years, we have been studying this open innovation system called Sanzai. It's in China. It's mostly concentrated on the city of Shenzhen. And this is what happened in the markets. The old cell phone gets collected, gets sorted, gets back. One of the most important part, and this is how they are beating those kind of economy. That's why people are still extracting all of this out of the e-waste. It's the chips. They are expensive to produce, and if you desolder them out of the system, put them back to the circulations, that fetch much higher price, that fetch much higher volume, that fetch much higher revenue than what you do when you just melt them down for the very trace amount of gold inside. And along with this system, and people starting to ask, how is this system work? Does this system work? What kind of economy scale does it create? What kind of change does it create in the global competitive scale? This is some of the Sanzai phone. They come in all shapes, size, strange, interesting, fun, crazy, weird. But this is the real numbers. In 2000, this is what Sanzai is occupying in the mobile phone sectors. It occupied in the long tail. And in the past 10 years, it completely changed the scale, the landscape of the mobile industry. I always talk about this, let's take a time machine back to 2006. If I'm standing on stage and tell everybody, I'm going to make a predictions, in about 10 years, the company Nokia will cease to exist. The company Motorola will cease to exist. I think Daniel will rush on stage and say, that's crazy. I mean, 2006, Nokia, that's crazy. But in reality, it went out of business in 2012, less than 6 years. What happened? The bottom-up innovation of this system, the bottom-up cooperation of this system, they fill in every single new growth possibility for the big brand. And they stop changing the trajectory of the big brand, changing the trajectory of the market, reshaping the market. Right now, the top brand in the mobile market is already different from back then. And how did that happen? How did they come from this recycle? How did they come from this? It turned out the entire Sanzai ecosystem is based on these ideas of Gongban and Gongmo. What you see there is an example of a smartwatch. The circuit board is public available. You can source it, the same design, you can source it from different company. The case, the display, everything, you can source in them from multiple companies, and they can be mixed and matched to produce new product. A whole ecosystem of 30,000 companies working on this, and everybody who wants to do it can come in and develop their stuff. And on top of this, because a lot of this is standardized, they get reused. The thing gets shipped to the developer market, they get recycled, they go back to the system, and they get composite, they get reconfigured, and then, resell them again. And that created a very vivid new ecosystem in China based on very much an open access, open manufacturing model, open innovation model. And this has been, in the past decades, changing the landscape of the mobile industry. And we are starting to look at, I think one of the buzzwords, one of the keywords we are hearing in this conference again and again is the coming of the Internet of Things. It's the coming of IoT. Exactly how big it is. Right now, today we have 5 billion IoT devices. In 5 years, that's going to be 5-4, going to 25 billion. And the good news is half of them is going to be created by startup in the next 3 years. We can starting to change the concept. We can starting to look at where those startups are going to come from. And most of them are going to come from this maker community, which has already been driven by open source hardware, by internet sharing, by digital fabrications. In the past 10 years, this group has been growing exponentially, and they are starting to showing their potential. And right now, it's getting political business endorsement. I mean, this is the Prime Minister of China, President Obama, the Intel CEO, is endorsing the makers. And what the maker can starting to change is now they are filling up the long tail part of the Internet of Things market, powered back by the Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And right now, a lot of these devices, they are powered by small open source board looking like this. They are powered by latest technology. And these are very expensive chips to fabricate. And if we let this just to grind down and then conceal it inside the box, and without being able to extract them at a board level for reuse, which reduce most of the problem with the dirty extraction of the chips. So we are proposing, starting to look into how are we going to make open source electronics, open source appliance be acceptable to the user, be acceptable to the innovator, and best of all, how do they power the next generation of startup? So we want to see this, the shadowy practice. They are not just something we should turn a blind eye on, but something we should look into and to see what went wrong. Second of all, we want to start in a registry with open appliance. People who does their system on open source hardware, we want to know about it, we want to promote it, we want to document it. We want to be able that the recycler take out the box, grab the circuitry, and that circuitry can be resell, can be reused. That's already the challenge. The customer mindset. When everybody hear about, well, my cell phone is based on the recycled circuit board, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like I'm getting the latest technology. It doesn't feel like I'm getting the latest, cooler stuff. But the reality is, these chips, they have become so powerful. We are actually, in the past years, we actually starting to see the first time in the ICT sector, the latest product is slower than the last generation. Anyone with the latest MacBook Air? No? Okay, well, if you look at the spec of the latest MacBook Air, it was actually slower than the last generation. We are already at the process of slowing down. We are already at the process of the ICT product is delivering new kind of experience rather than raw performance. So that's a long way to go, but I think we have a precedent before, and we have a great opportunity coming out. And facing a lot of innovators here, we really like you to think about innovating on top of the open source hardware, innovating on top of open source, and join the circular economy, join how this gets recycled. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
How, as innovators in Europe, can we actually concretely help or contribute to that?
I think right now we have a lot of I think it's a mindset change. We are really shifting from doing something with the IoT. Doesn't mean you have to be the latest in technology, the latest in the cutting edge technology. It's about delivering experience. It's about delivering the customer value. When we're starting to look at it like that, the open source will help you in terms of the cutting down the time to market, cutting down the cost to market. And the best part is try to be proud of using open source. Don't use open source and try to hide it as a secret. And I think that's the first step to starting from the innovators.
And if I'm an IoT entrepreneur now, can I actually go somewhere and start working with you?
Yes. We should be launching a website for registration soon.
Okay, so we're expecting that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, David.
Thanks.